allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't label us left or right.
We are American.
Not looking for a war, but we came to fight.
We are American.
Somebody's gotta stand up.
Stand up.
Somebody's gotta do what's right. We're rising cause we're fed up. Got our house in order and got yours in sight.
Welcome back to our New Year's edition of Sovereign Minds podcast.
The first one.
This is
Happy
the
New
first
Year.
one. We actually took a couple of weeks off. We had little radio. I know you probably did a podcast or something on the Bitcoin side, but it is January 3rd, 2000. I forgot to mark that out. It's 2022.
A little scary.
Yeah, 2-2. And so we're back at it. We're going to keep going this year hardcore. We got our special guest with us, Patrick Jones, who's Board of Supervisor, District 4, which happens to be my district. And so I want to hold him accountable for every misstep.
Well, I know you will. And, this is my first year. So within 2 days, it'll be my first year on the job as Shasta County Supervisor, District 4. So
Wow.
It's been a lot of fun, actually. I've really enjoyed this last year. I look forward to several more years, obviously, 3 more years. And I think this year, 2022, I just can't wait. I have had a hard time waiting to get to this year because I think so much is going to happen this year. And things that are going to be good, things that are going to help the county. And, I think... what we've learned in the last 2 years is that the public wants to see better representation. And I think that's what 2022 is going to bring about, is better representation. And so I'm excited. And, it's been kind of a long year, but it's been a really good year, and I've enjoyed it. And what I guess I've enjoyed the most is that the interaction from the public. They're waking up.
They're finally getting involved in the process because they're being forced to be awake. I hate to say woke, but obviously that's a term that we don't want to use. But they're waking up because of the pressure that's being put on them, and from the virus, especially because when you start mandating things that on people to wear masks and get vaccinated and all that stuff, and they don't have a choice, and it starts to look a little bit like a communist country of some sort.
Well, yeah, it really wears on them when it comes to their family and their children and not being able to do anything except be locked down.
And pulling it back locally.
Yeah.
You got a board that's not doing anything to fight back.
And when you look back a year and a half ago, and the government said you're essential and you're not essential.
Right.
Walmart and Costco,
They're essential.
You can be open. You're essential. Chinese shop, Mexican restaurant, you're not essential. And at that point, we knew there was something seriously wrong.
Right.
And this didn't make sense. And this was more than a cold virus politically.
Right.
They were using it in a different way. And for a lot of people, they started seeing that. And just like what happened with Carlos, for me, an unknown person, I'd never seen him before.
Never met him before.
And, he basically said, you shut my business down, that hurts my family, and I'm going to fight you on that. And, 25 million people picked up on that. And a lot of other people were feeling the same way, millions and millions of people. And so we fast forward to today. We have a recall election that's quickly coming. In fact, today, the ballots are being mailed today, maybe tomorrow, and those will be getting into your mailbox shortly, and you'll have a choice if you're a Shasta County resident that lives in District 2. the old District 2, and we'll
Oh,
get
yeah.
we'll get into
it.
that.
Yeah.
The old, what is that? The old district.
The old District 2, you'll get to vote yes or no to recall Leonard Modi. And if you vote yes, or if you vote no, you still get a chance to vote for any one of the 4 other candidates that are running. And so I think that's exciting. It allows the public to choose who they want. And if they choose yes and recall Leonard Modi, I think it sets the stage for what's going to happen for this year, in that they're not happy with what type of representation they've had, and they're looking for something better.
Well, and it goes to maybe explain the process as well. As if he gets recalled, he's gone, right? It's not like he gets to get voted on or anything. That's why it's kind of an interesting process. And that's why it's very important for everybody to get out there and vote in this election. Now, is that in every one of the districts that get the vote for him to be recalled,
No.
or just his district?
So this year, everyone in District 2, that's 1/5 of the county, you'll be getting a ballot this week in the mail. And all you have to do is fill it out, yes, and send it back in, and yes for one of the other candidates. That's as simple as
So
you have
yes,
to do.
Yes, to
to recall.
Right.
Yeah, because I know that they try to confuse that.
Right.
You know, the yes, does that mean that you want to keep Modi, or is it yes that you want to get rid of Modi? And it's yes to recall Modi and get rid of him.
Right. Yes to recall, and yes to pick one of these other 4
Right.
that you like what they stand on. And
There's some good candidates in the other 4 too. I mean,
There are.
I haven't completely made my mind up on all of them. I have loyalties to one or the other, and I like what one or the other has said.
No, and that's the whole point, is that it's a still free country, and anybody that wants to run that lives in District 2 could. And I think there's a couple candidates in this that are ready to go and ready to serve, and I think there's a couple that are not.
Right.
But that's up to each voter to get to decide that.
Right.
And so you have that choice. And in order to get that choice, you do need to vote yes to recall. Now, if 50% of the people that are voting vote yes, then Leonard Modi is recalled, and one of the other 4, whoever has the most votes, even just by one, will then be the next supervisor for District 2. Now, for 3 of these 4 candidates, they technically right now have been dislocated out of their district, and they currently live in a different district. However, they will get to remain District 2 supervisor until the end of the term. They can relocate back to their district.
You know, I mean, that just opens up
Yeah.
such a can of worms that we get to talk about here.
Yeah, that's a bad deal, and I've never seen anything quite like it. And you know well, Mark, because you were my pick for Shasta County commissioner for the redistricting.
Yeah.
And there was 5 commissioners, and each board of supervisors was able to pick one, and I picked you, and I thought you would do a good job, and you did. And in fact, the entire commission did a good job, and they produced 2 maps for us to choose from, and both were good maps. And we felt that there might need to be some minor tweakings, but then the ROV comes back with 2 wildly different maps, 2 more wildly different maps, and then ultimately settling on map E that had nothing to do with what the commission or the public had asked for.
It's amazing. I mean, I sat through, I don't even know how many meetings. I mean, we 6, 7, 8, whatever it was. And so we spent a lot of time learning and understanding and working with the staff to try to come up with a map that was going to, distribute the population fairly among the different districts, which was the prime directive. And when we submitted those maps, the basis of submitting those, that we liked them, both of these. We were kind of torn between the 2. Some of us liked one, some of us liked the other, but there was just going to be minor tweaks when we presented them to you. And so my thing was, what's the point? We did all of this stuff. We did all of this work. We put all this stuff together, and that was completely ignored by the supervisors that voted for these other maps.
Well, one of my questions is, was there a timeline to adopt it? I mean, did
Yes.
it have to be done by a certain date no matter what, even with the recall going on?
It did,
Yes.
but we had many days to pick whatever map that we wanted.
Right.
And on the close to the last day that we still had all day. We could have picked map A, B, C, D, E, any one of them we could have picked. So we had the time to
Right.
do it. We had more complaint on map E than all the other maps combined,
Which is the one that was adopted.
which was the one on a 4 out of 5 of the supervisors adopted. When we had the most complaint about dislocating people out of District 2 and putting them into 5. And just none of these things had come up in the commission meetings and the public hearings that you had. And you had
Right.
12 of them. I made a couple of them to check in, and the process was going smoothly, and the people had the opportunity to come and say, I don't like this. I certainly came and said, hey, there's a couple problems here that I think could be cleaned up to make it easier for the
Sure.
public to understand what district you're in. I think those were legitimate. And they just come out of the blue with this final map.
Now,
that
when you say they,
they
I was there at the meeting when that map was suggested,
Right.
and it was suggested by one person there on the board.
yeah.
But the initial map came out of the elections office, correct?
Correct, yeah. And
They
so
were working at the behest of the supervisors.
right, but the information that we gave to the register of voters, that map E, when it came back, was not what we had relayed to the ROV.
Right.
So we got a totally different map that did not represent what we had asked for. And clearly, something went wrong. Some sort of influence occurred to get a map, and then you had a lot of complaint. I only had one person complain on a previous map that was dislocated out of their district, which I brought forward, and they disregarded that map with one person complaining. Here, many people complained, both verbally to me and people that came to the boardroom, and they still took the worst map that we had. This is really
Why do you think it is? I mean, I don't want to throw stones, without a knowing. But I was there when I know Mr. Modi was the one that said, "What about if we do this?" And that seemed to turn into this other map. And then I'm thinking, why did we even show up? What was the point? If they're just going to throw out every other map that we did.
Well, Mark, on this, I think this is just symptomatic of a lot of things that we've seen happen in the past
Right.
that didn't make any sense. Where are you going to listen to the public or are you not? And clearly here we had 12, 13, 15 times to listen to the public, and we didn't listen to them.
Well, what do you think was gained by this other map?
Well, it dislocated candidates that are currently running 3 out of 4 of their own district. It certainly did that. And that to me was probably the thing that
primary reason.
that was possibly done. I don't see any other reason that.
Well, I've heard scuttlebutt that it pulled some of the voters over from Mary Rickard's district into Modi's district, so it'd give him a stronger block for future elections. I don't know if that's true or not, but I heard that was part of it.
I guess you'd have to really break the map down now and see what people were moved and what stayed, and to define it. But clearly we had an opportunity to listen to the public. That was the whole point of having the 12 meetings, to listen to the public and then make an improved map from what we've had and fix some of the problems. And now we just created a whole bunch of new problems. And we can't get rid of it for the next 10 years. And if the population doesn't grow, you're going to have this map for the next 20 years.
So you can't amend it or redo it or anything for 10 years.
That's what the whole census thing is about when you
Right, I
amend these
understand. But
districts,
if everybody, decided to stand up and say, we don't like it.
No,
that's
because
it.
it affects more than just the districts of this county.
I think back to 2011, the last time the census was done and a new map was drawn, and I'd been living in District 3 for 25 years, and I was moved into District 2.
And you can't help but think that this is putting a finger in somebody's eye.
And
because,
I was running.
Because the two candidates this time that both of them are running against Modi.
Right. So really, how much power does a person have and influence on this map over the last 10 years or better? I don't know, but I had to move out of my district that I lived in a couple blocks away to get back into District 3. And people said, hey, you just moved. Yeah, I had to move because you moved me out of my district, which
is going to happen to these other two guys if either one of them gets elected.
And there was no reason for it. I wouldn't mind so bad. I mean, so be it if you had a good map.
Right.
If the map made sense, and it's like, it's unfortunate, but this makes sense. This map didn't make sense. This map took a supervisor district that should have had some influence in the city of Reading, removed that completely, cut Happy Valley off and from their District 2 and put that into District 5. Nowhere along the line did anybody ever have any wants or desires to do that.
Well, that was the one map that we'd put together that actually took Chimente's district and made it so that he was a little more rural.
Right.
Had some rural areas, so everybody had skin in the game in the city and the rural
Which
area.
I really liked that, and that was, I think, the best map of the two. I think that was a good map, and I liked that map, and I approved that map, and I just wanted a few small changes down around I-5 where they still had District 2 on the east side of I-5. It didn't need to be, it's a west side district. It doesn't need to be on that side. And, looking back, I guess we should have just approved, looking back as to what happened, we should have just approved map A and called it good. But we wanted to do a good job for the public, and we wanted to listen to the public. And so this is government at its worst, and the Board of Supervisors is to blame for it. And if you are dislocated out of your district after this census and are unhappy, you can blame 4 out of 5 of these board members, because I think they did a bad job. They didn't listen to the commission. They didn't listen to the public. And, this last whole year and a half, that's what this change has all been about, is elected officials not listening to the public. This job's pretty easy. We sit on our butts the whole entire day, right? And all we have to do is listen to the public and act. That's a pretty easy job.
Well, they haven't been listening for a long time, and it's pretty obvious. I mean, with everything that's been going on, they use every excuse in the book to not listen to the public. Oh, well, you guys are not the only constituents. Well, okay, so you're supposed to then listen to constituents that don't show up over constituents that do show up, and with some kind of a pretend game like they're more important or there's more numbers. And those kind of numbers, it was overwhelming that the people that were showing up were in a majority of the population.
And they were saying that wasn't representing the population when the other side wasn't there at all, but they're taking that
very
side.
few.
Or very few,
That brings up a good point, and I've been posting a few things online about, the ones that are
shocking. That's shocking right there.
The ones that are supporting this block of supervisors that seem to vote lockstep no matter what, and it's always about the money. I mean, we keep hearing, it's not about the money, but then
it is.
It is about the money. If you look at the last Red, White, and Blue episode, thank you, it was pretty obvious, because 34 million, you want to turn that down, but the stakes are high. It's not just, the 34 million. Their malfeasance and spending has been coming for a long time. If they mandate that you got to get a shot, and I got more and more proof here that, I got a story from Cheryl Atkinson here, more and more proof that it's coming out. Another story that they're admitting that it will cause myocarditis in children, and this is Pfizer's own stuff. More and more things that are coming to light that shows that this is a bad deal. That's not going to change out of Sacramento, as far as I can tell. And so, you come back to who are you going to listen to?
Right.
And is that money more important than our children, our jobs, our lives? I mean, at what point in time do you go, wait a minute, we need to examine the strings that are attached to this?
Well, lately, with these vaccinations and these mandates with regards to the children, if there was anything that would awaken a community, I think that is one thing. When you start talking about doing something with these kids on something that's experimental, and then we're going to review it for a few years and then see what happens.
Right.
If you want to get moms and dads upset, that would be a very good way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking at a study that just came out from the Canadian COVID Care Alliance, and basically Pfizer inoculations do more harm than good. They're finding that the studies are showing a significant increase in illness, with which the Pfizer inoculations are supposed to reduce.
Right.
So how do you reconcile that?
But the people on the other side now are trying to up the dosage for the children and have the boosters sooner.
Wow. And this
Yeah,
is
and so the parents, like Patrick's saying, the parents and stuff are starting to go, hey, wait a minute.
Well,
no,
let's go-
no more, no more.
let's go back to the 34 million. Okay,
Yeah.
so what are we getting for our 34 million?
Well, so that so that again is a great piece of government work. This was approved just before I was elected a year ago, and the 34 million that came, or the 24 million that came in last time,
Right.
4 million of that totally was given to the Chamber of Commerce. And then they determined how that money was to be allocated to small businesses that were struggling due to the shutdowns. Of course, they cut off a chunk for administration,
A couple $100,000. or
a couple
whatever, yeah.
$100,000, and then support Shasta Forward, which is 3 members of the board. So an obvious connection there that's not appropriate, and the chamber should have not been involved in that, but that's their own doing, and that ultimately will hurt them in time with credibility. Then the other monies went to the county, and it was used in a variety of different ways, but you have to take a look that the county grew by 100 people during that time.
Wow.
And so the government here, businesses are shutting down, people are losing their businesses, families are getting hurt, and local government is
It's bigger.
growing substantially.
Well, and they're
Yeah.
being paid, basically being bribed to go along with the program, and when you look at that, I mean, when you say that, what stands out in my mind is, with this Modi saying we desperately need this $34 million.
So this next group of money that's coming, and they want to make that decision. You notice they made that announcement that they're going to decide how to spend this money in January.
Right.
Now, how come not February? To me, February would be a little bit better.
You mean maybe after the,
After the recall election?
You think that
Well,
it might be somebody else
you
in
can't
there?
help but think there's something going on here because this whole thing stinks. When you say we need this money desperately, but we're going to give everybody raises, and in fact, those raises, there's more raises to come on the new agenda that's going to be tomorrow.
Correct. In fact, for tomorrow we have C6, which is a consent item with lots of raises, and so
I just happen to have it right here in front of me.
which really makes me unhappy again in that we have a whole series of pay increases that are on a consent. Now, consent items are supposed to be individually scrutinized, individually and items that are routine and individually scrutinized that need no more further deliberation. And that clearly is not the case on this and so many other consent items. And here it is. They just want us to simply pass it without any issue. Now, I'll pull it off, and we'll be able to discuss why this group of people needs raises. Do we have any retention problems? When's the last time they got raises? And I think you'll see that some of them have already gotten raises earlier this year, or earlier last year,
Right.
mid last year. So we need to discuss that and show that it's a good use of public funds and that it's warranted.
Well, and I'm not against raises as much as I'm against malfeasance on the part of the county and the supervisors with the spending, because we've grown our budget from 300 to 600 million in the last 10 years.
Right.
Where's all the money going? They refuse to do an audit.
Right.
Now, a forensic audit. I mean, not just an audit where some guy comes in and says all the figures are correct. I want somebody that comes
line
in
by line.
that says where's the money actually going.
Yeah,
Okay.
line by line, where is it going?
And people, if you've known me and on my years on council, you've also seen that I've rarely ever supported pay increases. Now, recently I have supported a few, and it's hard for me to do that, but I've done it with the Sheriff's Department because we have a retention problem. We're having a hard time retaining enough sheriff deputies, and so I have given some pay increases, some signing bonuses to try to get enough staffing for the police department. But it's hard for me to do, and it's upsetting for me to do it because every time I do some of these things, many of these things, it increases the pension obligation that
Right.
is still running unchecked. And the public is unaware of what it means to the public because you have to pay for it. It's not a county debt. That check, you're going to write me that check in time. And the public is responsible for those pensions. Now,
Where were we at? 1 billion, and I mean, where are we at?
so when you look at the total debt paid over time, because when you buy a house, for example, most people can't pay for it outright, so you take out a loan.
Right.
And you pay interest over time. And so if that house was $100,000 If you paid it off, do you think it cost you just $100,000?
Oh, of course not. It's three times that.
It's many more. And that's
Yeah.
the same problem we have with the pensions. So we have a particular amount of debt with CalPERS, and by the time we get that paid off some 30 plus years down the road, it will be $1 billion, if not more.
Wow.
And so every time you give a pay increase, it compounds that issue. So you're not dealing with a very large issue, and you're taking a considerable amount of general fund money to pay for those pensions every year, every month. And that's the part that hurts me. And so it's unfortunate that I can't give a raise. It would be nice to give a raise in good conscience, but it compounds the pension debt.
How about somebody get a pay cut? You know, I mean, Linda's got the figures that she got from the Shasta County Citizens Journalist.
On the Health and Human Services, I'm starting to go into it and, do line by line and stuff like that. And the amount, I mean, I did 5 pages, added them up.
So the one that stands out in my mind is what was the first one was like $360,000 or
$354,000 off of the first sheet.
That's not counting benefits. You know what the Speaker of the House gets like $243,
and that's for 60 on the average 60 people.
And this was a similar problem back on my days at City Council. And in those years, the paper even once printed the top to the bottom in salary so the public could see what public employees. They got a lot of threats, so they never printed that information again. But it was
I remember
it was a disservice to the public, unfortunately.
Right.
And there you take a look at a city manager that was taking with pay and benefits something like $328,000 for pay and benefits.
Wow.
And while that was shocking, really, if you looked at the very bottom,
they're barely getting by.
Well, actually, that's where it was the most shocking to me. It was the top was pretty disturbing, but janitor 1 or 2, whatever the bottom position was costing the taxpayers something to the tune of $45,000
For a janitor.
Right, and that was the lowest paid. That's pay and benefits, mind you.
Well,
But-
that's the average. That's the average medium income in Shasta County.
It's
and
about
I've
there,
looked at several different
Right.
sources.
It's somewhere
and
right
it seems
now.
like 45,000 is the average medium
Yeah.
income. So that's the lowest pay in the city or the county.
And sometimes I'm just wondering where is it that the taxpayer is put, in front?
Well, how about just a part of the process?
Where is a person that says, hey, I think that's kind of excessive? Because if you leave government unchecked, they will spend every penny that they have no matter what. And we see a ton of that in Health and Human Services where we get this grant money and we're going to spend it no matter whether it's a good program or not.
Right.
And we've already demonstrated we have failed programs, but yet they're going to continue to do it over and over and over. Just like housing for the homeless, which I have voted no on many times. I'm not going to spend money. Our job as a government is to not buy people homes or housing. That is not our role.
Right.
And it doesn't fix the problem.
Right.
Even if your house...
What do you think is the role of the Shasta County Board of Supervisors?
Exactly. We do have a role, and I believe in government, but it isn't buying you a house because you have failed to supply one for yourself, or even in the event that your house burned down, as tragic as that is. It is not the role of government to rebuild your house. We can help do the cleanup. I could do that. And so we want a livable county. We can help when someone is down by helping you get a job, and you can go build your own house. How about in resource management, helping move through a process that should be easy, working for you instead of against you, and helping build this county forward. But instead, anybody that's ever dealt with resource management, you don't ever want to deal with them again. I have story after story after story. I don't know if it ever stops where, the government isn't here to help you. And I want to fix that. And I think over the last year and a half, that's what we're hearing, is we want government to work for us, and we're going to do something about it.
I think government is turned to preying on us more than it has to helping us, and it's not worried about our rights. It's not worried about securing our rights.
I think it's taken care of itself.
Right. It's become self-serving. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's the core has taken it's protected and created that bubble, but it has forgotten about the people that we serve. And I have not forgotten that. From the day I was first elected in 2006 till today, I'm here to work on behalf of the public. It's why I've turned down all the pension, all CalPERS pension. I will never receive it. not on the city days, not on my county days, not on anything else that I
Well, it's
ever
going to
do.
go belly up anyway. You know that, right?
It probably will. And I just don't want to be a part of a
No, I
failed
understand.
system.
I'm kidding,
And I
obviously.
want people to have a good retirement, but this ain't it.
Well, and there's good retirements, and then there's fat, bloated retirements that are being mismanaged by a group of people at CalPERS that have, invested in, speculative crap based on a lot of, green energy policies and things like that. So I feel sorry for the people that have been paying into that, that think they're going to have something at the end of the day. I don't think there's going to be anything there.
Well, if you retire early and die young, you're going to be okay.
Well, hey, there's a way out.
But it ultimately is. It's almost like a Ponzi scheme. As long as there's new people,
I think it actually is.
Keep paying into it, it'll prolong.
Well, but that's the definition of a Ponzi scheme.
Exactly.
Is when the new money is paying for the old money.
Correct.
And that's exactly what they're doing. And
that's why it appears to me why they want to continue to grow government, because that allows a Ponzi scheme, this scheme, to work better. If you try to create a smaller, more efficient government, that's where this may fail.
That's why I say it's treason, because they are throwing their fellow countrymen under the bus for their benefit.
Well, they don't care. They're up there, or they have been. They've been up there sitting, just doing whatever they please.
Well,
with,
this is what
with our money.
This is what the founders warned us about. We got about 14 seconds, and then we'll take a break here, and then come back for the next segment, and then we'll talk some more stuff about millionaires and billionaires and whatever
And
else.
more money.
More money, and yeah, right.
Where is the money?
Where's
Where's the
Waldo?
money? Yeah, exactly.
All right, very good. We'll see you on the next segment.
Okay.